So Eden Zero Chapter 207 is finally out, and I gotta say, this was another good chapter, though not as big and climactic and groundbreaking as the last, like, 5 or so chapters that have come out since Chapter 200. But, all in all, this was still another solid chapter, and I really liked it. There was a lot of explanations and exposition in this chapter, so we basically stayed in the exact same spot for the entirety of the chapter. But we get more stuff with Cure, and we get some bits of Holy's backstory, and everything gets briefly explained that I will get into in the initial review. So, let's just hit that intro and get right into the chapter. Chapter 207, To Shine. I really like this image of Clean. I feel like we need more Clean because we basically just have Rebecca and Homura cover images along with the other Shining Stars. Clean and even Jin do need to have more cover images now. I want to see more. And I also like that these two had back-to-back cover images, which I like. They're basically a pair. Anyway, enough of that. We cut to the outside of Dead End Crow where Laguna is trying to find Clean, and Hermit notifies him that she was shot out of the sky. And I like this one panel of I just like this one establishing panel at the bottom right, just showing Dead End Crow facing the Eden Zero despite everything going on right now. So, I like the attention to detail in this establishment that, yeah, Dead End Crow is still freaking menacing as all hell. But, yeah, Hermit explains that they don't know Clean's status, but they know her coordinates where she crashed. So Laguna goes to check up on her. He then tells Hermit that Jin is helping Holy get to the core of Dead End Crow as he goes to find Clean. We then cut back to inside of Crow, where Jin is still facing off against a horde of Crowbots. I'm gonna call these Crowbots, if you have and I think that they are, it's a very apt title for these mindless drones. Quite literally. But yeah, Jin's joints are beginning to give out, seemingly overheating from overuse. Because he's facing a crap ton of enemies, he's using his jets to move around. I get it, and and there's not much he can do without ether, so without constant ether from the atmosphere, his joints are kind of being overworked way too quickly. Because I feel like this actually gives Jin more of a precarious situation that he was already in without his ether gear anyway, so it makes the situation a lot more tense. So we then go back to where last chapter left off, basically the exact same paneling, with Cure being seen in the core of Dead End Crow, with Holy wondering what's going on, but is actually glad because he could help her, right? No, he smirks, and he does the Frieza finger laser right through Holy's side, shocking her while she wonders why. I feel like Dragon Ball influences a lot of villain interactions and just whole be like, yeah, screw you moments with the whole finger laser thing. I just wanted to say that. I tend to notice I tend to think these things a lot. I like Dragon Ball. It's a whole thing. Just roll with it, please. Don't say anything, please. Just roll with it. Anyway, she falls to the ground as Cure explains that he is the power source, or to be more specific, he's Dead End Crow himself, which the ending of last chapter basically alluded to from the very beginning, and we all kind of figured. But Cure says that if she didn't make it this far, she wouldn't have had to find out the truth. As he begins to explain that he wants balance. The universe needs good and evil. That's why Cure himself is both good and evil. He's asking, does that make sense? For the Interstellar Union Army to shine brighter, the Galactica, the Orange Space Galactica, their darkness is essential. As he states that long before that Holy was even appointed a member of the Orange Space Interstellar, he was creating all kinds of darkness throughout the cosmos and then eliminating them himself to make the rest of them shine brighter. Holy, same question that we're asking, he created the darkness? And he's saying, yes, it is the purpose of our existence to save the universe. Then it only stands to reason that we need an evil to save it from, right? As he begins to explain that he gave Drakenjo and Nero their power. So, I'm going to get into this later down the road at the end of the video, so I'm just going to go through it, but that's a really interesting idea to go with. That's pretty cool. So yeah, he basically set up Nero and Drakenjo with their abilities so that their darkness can grow and be all-consuming, so that when they erased it, they could shine brighter, bringing everyone closer to the light. Kirby continues to say that of all his creations, Dead End Crow is my masterpiece. I'm kind of skipping over Holy's dialogue. It's basically that's just us, the reader's reaction to everything that Dead End Crow is saying. So I apologize if I'm not giving too much of Holy's dialogue. He says that Crow's darkness is dense, deep, and so deep and twisted that he always knew that Holy would one day be able to defeat him. That's how he set things up, so that they can shine brighter. But he says that that day is not today. He won't allow Holy to alter his plans right now. Holy then begins to cry out to him, "We risk our lives to fight these evils and you created them?" Though he states that Ziggy and Aknoella he had nothing to do with. They were just villains in their own right. So that's interesting. Aknoella was basically a villain, villain in quotes. We have no idea what's going on with her before Cure was even doing all this crap. So that's an interesting piece of dialogue that is very interesting. And Ziggy we kind of already knew. And he even states that he didn't even do anything with Nox and Elsie. All he had to do was give them diabolical, villainous names, and the rest writes itself. Everyone's afraid of them. Thus, goes to show how controlling information and public opinion actually does way over perception of others a lot. But he continues to say that in Crow, he was my true masterpiece. As Holy screams out, "You were responsible for Bloody Atmos Day too." As we then cut back to outside in outer space with the Union Army battling against Aknoella's dragon forces. With Feather basically saying that there's something wrong with her Eye of Venus. Eraser says that she should just save the whining for later, but he says she can't determine someone's location. Eraser says, well, just have Cure fix it later, as he literally just says a bit of an offhand joke. All I can do is erase stuff. But Feather states, it's Cure that I cannot see. As she begins to explain that Cure's brain-class ship is completely unmanned based off of her Ether Gear's findings, confusing Eraser as he believed that Cure was with all of them. Cutting back to Cure and Holy gets up and basically states that the Yukino Cosmos, planet Swan, that was where her sister and her were. Bloody Atmos Day was just called Atmos Day, to honor the savior of their planet. And a big crowd was gathered, and I like these establishing shots. As then all of a sudden, Dead End Crow appears. As she states, suddenly a mysterious titan appeared, the life-squishing, building, burning, maniacally laughing devil. Dead End Crow. Over 1 million dead. The most deadly act in the entirety of the Yukino Cosmos. And we see brief panels of Holy trying to reach out to her sister as the buildings are collapsing around them. Holy begins to state how much of a good kid that her sister was and wanted to be like a champion of justice, to be a hero. She was just 8 years old when she died. And she continues to explain, Crow took the women who survived and hung them up in the town square for a sick entertainment. And based off of the silhouettes, they were all stripped naked for humiliation purposes for this whole entertainment for this sick monster. But all of them died one after the other, all except Holy, the sole survivor of this whole incident seemingly. Cure says, yes, exactly. That's when your story was established. You would be the light that would eventually defeat Crow. And Holy just says what we're saying. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why did you have to attack Swan? Cure is thinking that, well, Holy's still not getting it, huh? It doesn't matter where. If evil is created somewhere, light will always be created with it. That was a day when darkness was born. Yes, a day seeds were sown to make us shine brighter, as he gives us a very sinister, twisted smile. As Holy just states, and Sarah had to give her life for this, for that deranged idea. 1 million innocent people died for that. As Cure's like, do you really want me to repeat myself again? For us to be good, there must also be evil. It always states, good people don't create this crap. As Cure just says, that's why I'm both good and evil. Yeah. Yeah, I know I'm being a little condescending right now, but I just kind of imagine something similar to what that's kind of like Crow's dialogue. Cure's dialogue, I don't know. But Holy then punches Cure, having him like roll around on the ground, hitting the wall at the end, stating that he lied to their comrades, he created evil, and he doesn't give a damn about human life. He continues to say what he's been continuing to say: without evil, they would have no reason to exist. And Holy's like, don't you dare associate me with you. A creature as vile as you has no right to offer prayers to the stars. As Cure is like, come on, how are you going to stop me? You don't have any ether gear right now. And right on cue, Holy's ether gear begins to charge back up to Cure's shock. As you see a panel, Laguna found clean. She is injured, but she is using her ether gear once more to cancel out the ether canceling. As Holy is very relieved that Clean is still alive. I mean, yeah, after basically having to relive that day in your head multiple times where you lost your sister, basically being glad that someone else didn't have to go through the same thing as you, I understand, and that's really nice. Holy then begins to attack with her melting ether as Cure blocks it, with Hermit ending out the chapter, stating Crow's mobility is down, it's time to fire the main cannon, and for everybody to get out of there, ending the chapter. So, another really good chapter. I like Cure's establishments and whole like grand master manipulator thing. Though the one thing I do have to say is, it makes sense. His reasoning surprisingly makes a bit of sense, while also very flawed and kind of delusional and deranged. He wants Derby to be good, but there has to be evil to kind of counterbalance it. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense to a certain degree, at least by his logic. Where there's good, there's also evil. Where there's evil, good has to come to vanquish the evil, etc., etc. But he's been manipulating events and characters to basically create whole storylines, more or less. It seems like something for his own amusement, but it's just his own logic. He wants to be good and evil himself, and is setting things up for other people to defeat these darknesses that he's created. He said that he was responsible for giving Draken, Joe, and Nero their powers. Now, Nero, it could just be the Emperor Dice, which helps him pick the right path for victory. I can go with that. Or it could be his ether gear, or both. No. But this could tie into Draken Joe's whole flashback way back in the Belial Go arc. It's shocking to realize how long ago that arc was. But in that flashback that we got for Draken Joe towards the end of the arc, he was seemingly in some kind of like lab somewhere, wanting to make friends, wanting to go out into the world. But sometime after that, everything got twisted. He got the whole disease where he has to absorb life energy to stay alive, and it's why he's been alive for so long. And he's also got the alchemy ether gear. So it's very possible that Cure discovered either someone with the alchemy ether gear, or someone with this type of disease or affliction or whatever, or even created this whole scenario just out of sheer chance. He just sat back and waited for their evil to spread, so that he can assign someone from the Irrational States Interstellar to defeat them, and so that their justice can shine brighter. That's interesting. That is an interesting motivation for a villain, but I feel like him being responsible for like at least half of a good chunk of the literally half of the original Galactica's whole villainous things that he's responsible for. Aknoella does her own thing. Nox and Elsie, he just stated, all I gotta do is give them a bad reputation and villainous names, and the rest wrote itself. So, yeah, I like it, but I feel like there should have been like something more to like build up the fact that there was a connection between Joe and Nero to some degree. It literally could. I mean, like I said, Joe and the whole flashback, it was interesting. That kind of ties into a bit, but I'm not gonna get too into it. This could be a video in and of itself. And I like the flashback with Holy and Bloody Atmos Day. Quick, brief, establishes everything we need to know, and Mashima didn't dwell too much on it, as this is a very, very dark event, and the subject matter is honestly very dark in this whole flashback, so I'm very glad that it wasn't like lingered on for too much, because it would have been very uncomfortable and hard to read, with the whole, stringing women up on crosses, and basically waiting for them to die. Yeah, it's pretty dark, especially for a shonen manga, which, I mean, Mashima does do a lot of dark tropes and stuff like that in his stories. But yeah, that was basically the chapter. I enjoyed it. Not a whole lot happened, but a lot of interesting things were stated, and we got to see Holy's backstory. And obviously, Clean is alive, which I don't think any of us doubted that she was alive. Still, it was a really nice cliffhanger for that specific chapter. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this chapter in the comments section down below. If there was anything I missed, or if you found any connections about this whole Cure grand reveal in previous chapters, let me know. I like talking to you guys in the comments with your thoughts and opinions on these stories. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really does help. We're very close to 3,000 subscribers, and I really want to get there before the end of September. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. And with all that said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.